Let's call to order today's meeting of the Downtown Design Review Committee. We have a quorum, but let's do our roll call just to make sure.
Nathaniel Harding.
Here.
Anthony Blatt.
Here.
Charles Ainsworth. Corey Bates. Present. Julie Kriegel. And Deborah Richards.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, let's all ensure our phones are off or in airplane mode. And make sure you have your microphones, speaking to the microphone, and any guests that are here when you address the committee, be sure to state your name and address for the record. So moving on with our agenda, we have our minutes from our last meeting. Those have been supplied to you in advance. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
That's a Bates-Blatt motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The minutes are approved. We have one case that's been withdrawn, as you can see in the agenda. I don't think there's anything else to say about that, just for information. No continuance requests. We do have an item on the consent docket, but I'm going to request that we pull out for individual consideration. And that's item DTCA 18-00091. It's 36 Northeast 10th Street. And do we have some slides on that Laura will show us, and after Laura summarizes, we'll have anybody here to speak on its behalf as well.
We have a mural before you, and we actually are being filmed, so I wanted to tell you that as part of this project. This is, it's been in the paper called The Faces of the 47, which some of you might have read about, which is about school children, and they're putting these up in different locations throughout the state. There's actually one in Norman on Main Street that I think they've already put up, that you can see as you drive east. It's on the north side of the road before you get to railroad tracks. But this is going up on the Jesus Saves building. Let me get to which at Northeast 10th in North Oklahoma. And this is the location. It's actually designed so that it will dissolve as time passes. And that's an intent. The intent was to do that. So I'm going to allow the applicant, who didn't realize she was going to have to speak, to talk to you about this exciting project.
Good
Welcome.
morning. Good morning. Can you hear me? There it is. My name is Sarah Agee. My address is 3902 Northridge Road in Norman, Oklahoma. That's 73072. Like I said, my name is Sarah Agee, and I am the project manager of Faces of the 47th. Faces of the 47th is a statewide art project. As you were just told, we do have an installation that is currently installed in Norman. We have one in Pauls Valley. We also have one in Waynoka. Earlier this year, after the teacher walkout, I, as a parent of public school children, felt the need to do more and not be a spectator anymore to the educational funding crisis within our state. And this is what I came up with. I have a photographer named Neil Chapman who went across the state with me, and we photographed public school children, 47th of them, 47th referring to, on average, our ranking in educational, where we are nationally. So, like I said, sorry. Faces of the 47th, we have 47 portraits. They are 3.5 by 5 each. They will go up, hopefully, on 36 Northeast 10th Street. In each city that we did an installation, we have an artist from that city who does the actual installing, and the Oklahoma City artist is with us today. Denise Wong, I'm sure many of you know her. She has many murals within Oklahoma City, comes highly recommended. Yes, the project is biodegradable. It's made of just paper and wheat paste, so we expect it to last about 4 to 6 months. The Norman installation has been up for not quite 2 months, and it is still going strong. There's very little biodegrading of it. That's-
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Seems like a good project.
Thank you.
So any questions for the applicant or any other remarks? Okay, I think we're ready to hear a motion.
I'll move to approve the installation of this mural.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by Richards and Blatt. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. So that is passed. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that moves us to the next item on the agenda, cases for individual consideration. DTCA 18-00090 at 918 Northwest 5th Street. So Laura, can you summarize this for us?
Good morning. This project is an existing building. It had had a sign company in it previously. There's a parking lot adjacent to the building on the east side. And I gave you views basically showing the existing sidewalk, because there was a handout in your packet from the architect involved in the project who was talking about some of the issues and concerns that resulted in the design that they were proposing for the exterior of the building changes, which is why I included some of these pictures so you could see any limitations on sidewalk, the width of the sidewalk. The work that they're proposing in this application deals with this back corner of the building. They're proposing to put another door, man door here, a transaction drawer and window like you have kind of like at a bank at this location. And then here on the back, they're proposing to leave the overhead doors, but on the outside of that, put storefront windows so that they can actually, during the day, on the inside, open up the overhead doors and get sun in. And then I didn't mark it here, but you'll see on the plan putting bollards in. Their property line, the building is set back from the rear property line next to the alley, and so they were proposing to put bollards in a line down their property line that you'll see on that site plan. This is views on the alley. We had some handouts, some correspondence we received, which you got. I updated signatures. On signature, there were 2 more. Tony, you had probably saw a signature page that replaces the one on the back of that correspondence from property owners in the surrounding area that were concerned. So we do have some pictures of the alley, which is one of the concerns, deals with congestion in the alley. So I wanted to make sure you could at least see. On the south side, there are several buildings that are within the alley, and what the concern is that you saw was they get deliveries in the alley. In the staff report, you will see that there were several guidelines that staff was concerned about. We had another case kind of similar to this where the building was flipped, where the front of building uses got put in the back, you might recall, and the back of the uses got put in the front. And in the downtown design district, we're looking at activating the sidewalk, activating the street, inviting the pedestrian, which, when you look at the guidelines that I included, is why those are listed. We don't have provisions to have different guidelines dependent on the use. So in this case, we use the ones that we have in the downtown handout. And so this is from the side. You can see there's the new door. So the concern, and I quoted in the staff report from the architect, was that this proposal is different and has security needs that resulted in this request for access in the back corner versus we're looking at, street access. While the use itself is not in question because it's allowable use, It's only before you today because they want to modify the building. Because it's not in keeping with the guidelines, we brought it to the committee for consideration. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything else I can say other than what's in the staff report. I referenced the DDF as well, because there's some guidelines in it. So given the information that we provided in our staff report, we have two scenarios. There's obviously all kinds of different scenarios for your end result today, because I figure you guys are probably going to have a lot of questions, and we can discuss that. We were trying to figure out if there were conditions that we could recommend that would make it more palatable to us, but I think it's kind of hard to anticipate. Those could be limitless, so I didn't include that in here, but obviously that could be something for discussion.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant or a representative here to speak on the case's behalf?
Good morning. My name is David Krzyzewski. My address is 2720 Northwest 33rd Street, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I'd like to describe the project a little bit. This is a new thing for Oklahoma with the laws passed and some of the challenges that we've come up with and how we're solving those things. Medical marijuana dispensaries are well-regulated because they need to be very well-regulated. People have to be identified, their card, they have to have a medical marijuana card, they have to be scanned and brought in at a very regulated rate. There will probably be 4 or 5 people inside working in the dispensary where the medical marijuana will be sold and the clients will be consulted with. So it's a pretty timely process. It's not going like buying a pack of cigarettes or a pack of gum. The clients are brought in. They're talked to. Their needs are talked about. What their ailments are and the different types of marijuana that can be used to help them. So with 4 people in there, 4 clients, 4 staff people, they may be in there for a half an hour apiece. That typically, historically, from California, the owners group did a lot of research. With that type of duration, the lines start stacking up. There are lines. It can be similar to maybe a movie, a new movie coming in, a pretty good line. So what happens sometimes is historically, like in California, where we're basing a lot of our information from, the lines would wrap down the sidewalks, impeding sidewalk traffic. So our solution to that portion was to put the entry near the back in the parking lot so that the queuing space would be in the parking lot, which would allow a safer experience for the people waiting. It would keep the sidewalk clear for pedestrian traffic, as I think the zoning guidelines are trying to encourage. And also, another component is anonymity. A lot of these people are business people that are going to be doing this. They're not a bunch of dopers. They're coming there for a medical marijuana need. A lot of them don't want to be standing on 5th Street waiting 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes an hour. So anonymity is a part of this as well. So we went the pedestrian entrance near the rear for queuing space off of the street, off of the sidewalk, and the anonymity part. We have a transaction window. That's part of the process. There are people that are walk-up customers. There are also customers that will get online and order online, specifically repeat customers. Well, for that transaction, they don't need to come in and have the client customer experience. They're repeat or something like that. They know what they want. So they'll order online. They'll come to the window, transaction window, show their ID, show their marijuana card, have that verified. Then their package would be pre-prepared, put through the transaction drawer, and the transaction would be had. That function really needs to be near the entry door, just from a staffing standpoint, having transaction window separated from the employees would cause additional employees in a hardship on the business. So the transaction window, we placed it near the new customer entry. You see that there's two doors, one existing door and another door. If you look at the plan, the existing door will be the entrance door. That will be the door for customers coming in, and there's a, if you could go maybe to the enlarged floor plan, the full floor plan, not the site plan, possibly.
Oh, sorry.
So we have the existing door, which is shown there, which is the one that's shown at a 45-degree angle, and we have a new security vestibule. It'll be bulletproof glass because robbery is another component of this. So the customer will walk into there. There's a transaction window would be to the left side of that, which would be kind of like a window that you would see at a movie theater. The customer would come in there. They would be sequestered at that point. Their ID, their medical marijuana card would be shown, checked out, then they would be buzzed in through the second door. And then they would be greeted by a customer service person and their needs attended to. The second door, the one we're adding, is surely a convenience door for exiting. So after the customer has been served, they can walk out that door without having to go through the vestibule, because we really want that vestibule to be a one-way entrance. So that's the need for the second door. And if you look on that plan, to the left of the existing door is the transaction door that would be similar to a bank. It would have a drawer for packages and a window above. Regarding the traffic, there was a lot of concerns coming up late in this about traffic in the alley and things like that. I'd like to discuss a little how that's going to work. The existing parking lot will essentially remain the same. There is a 24-foot entry drive off of 5th Street on the north for inbound and outbound traffic. That will stay that way. We're modifying it slightly because the cities need to add a dumpster. So we're putting a dumpster near the rear, and we're striping the area in front of the new door so that there's a pedestrian access alley, so a car won't park there. So that's the only modification we're doing to the parking area. The access vehicular access will be in and out from 5th Street. We're proposing, if that slide up there is a good one, we're proposing that the area in front of the overhead doors be partitioned off with some bollards. Two reasons for that. Number one, security again. This is a cash-only business. We'll have cash in there, and we don't want somebody running through those doors getting in. So we have bollards there to keep vehicular traffic on the alley from being able to penetrate the building. Secondly, it will serve as a waiting area for customers waiting to get into the dispensary itself. So the goal is to put some tables out there, some chairs that they can wait as they're waiting to get in to be served. So we'll have some bollards. I think the site plan, Laura, shows how that works. Along that back also, we're proposing to put storefront glass in the openings of the overhead doors. Leave the overhead doors where they are so they can be shut down after hours for security, and then we open them up during the day to allow natural light in for a more pleasing experience inside, and essentially for an aesthetic reason for the overhead doors. Those are some of the challenges. Some of the issues I'd like to speak to some of the zoning guidelines and give some opinions on how I think that they affect this project. We talk about these guidelines referenced are about the facade of the building, and I'd like to suggest that the references tend to be for new infill buildings or modifications of existing on-street storefronts. For example, it states that streetscape zone, sidewalk zone should be provided wherever sufficient right-of-way exists. But we're not changing that. There's a sidewalk zone there. It's existing. We're not making any changes to the facade of this building. Safe and accessible route. The safe and accessible route is still there. The one component that would, I think, have impact on this building is our safe and accessible route in our parking lot for the customer queuing. The zoning guidelines talk about it says that primary building entrances are required to face the street and be flush with the sidewalk. Entrances may be recessed if the pedestrian zone is less than 12 feet. Well, we're not changing our facade. We're not asking to recess. We're flush. That's how this building was designed. It's in compliance with the zoning ordinances. So the ordinances cited, I feel, don't pertain to this existing building, that we're not modifying the storefront, the street side. It's as is. What I think does apply and what we should be looking at is the idea of directing people to the rear side of this building. And for the reasons I said, the safety, the anonymity, the queuing lines, those are the reasons we're doing that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Are you the property owner?
No, I'm the architect representing the property owner,
Okay.
J&B Properties.
Who owns the parking lot?
J&B Properties owns the parking
Okay,
lot.
so
That's their parking lot. They've maintained it for 12 years.
they have control over what happens? to that
Absolutely,
parking lot?
yes, they have for 12 years. And they have let their neighbors that are, I think a lot of the rejections are coming from the neighbors because of their lack of understanding of the project. That's why I've tried to give some background and some ideas of how the vehicular traffic will work. It will all be from Fifth Street, and it will be controlled by J&B Properties, the property owner.
That's the only question I had. I'll hold my comments until discussion.
Okay, any other questions for the architect while we have him here? Thank you.
No more questions?
Okay, appreciate it. And so I know we have some people to speak on both sides of the issue, but yeah, per usual, I want to make sure that the comments, any additional comments, don't repeat previous comments, just in the interest of time.
I'd like to maybe say one more thing, just for clarification. We have a building permit for this project. We've submitted drawings. I've done drawings. The owner has submitted and has a building permit. This is an accepted use. Building permit has been granted. So any issues with trying to block this dispensary because it's not appropriate, it's not in code, it's not per zoning, all of those things have been looked at, met, and approved.
Okay,
Thank you.
And I understand there might be another representative of the owner and the owner. Any other comments from?
Not at this
Okay.
time. I was just asking his attorney present.
Okay. Any comments from guests? Be sure to state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Melinda Irwin, and I live at 405 Northwest 16th. And we own the property 504 North Glasson and 923 and 921 4th Street. So I've kind of been elected to be the spokespeople for the people on the south side of 4th Street, the ones that back up to this property. So,
And I'll back up. The property you own, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. You
we own-
own this corner.
we own that
correct?
corner, and then Jim Hunter owns Oklahoma City Mattress Company, which is in the middle. And then he owns the lots on either side. And then Susie and Brian Dosser own the corner. And all of us have been there 15-plus years. So we have dealt with a whole lot of transient traffic, theft, security. There was a car lot on the corner of 504 Classen when we bought the property, and every morning when I would come to work, there would be a man on a cot sleeping outside my window, which was their security. So, you know, I feel like we've worked hard to clean it up. I have a dance studio that rents the west side of my building and 504 Classen. Jim at Oklahoma City Mattress has been there for 45 years. We have all fenced our properties, mainly for security reasons, because we have stuff we don't want people able to come in the back of our buildings and steal them without the street view. So I think our biggest concerns are their intent may be for people to exit onto Fifth, but there's nothing to stop them from going into the alley. Maybe if there was a fence put where the bollards, and they fenced their property completely, and the parking lot would be a suggestion I would make. I think that would possibly make Rogers Lock happy. Rogers sits adjacent to it. And make the parking lot a secure facility, a secure environment. We don't want people walking through our lots, walking between our buildings. And I think that's probably our biggest concern, because we have worked so hard to get it to where it's not a daily battle. I mean, we kind of always have looked out for each other. And, you know, a lot of their plan talks about the safety and security of their employees, but Jim at Oklahoma City Mattress Company is concerned about the safety and security of his employees that are literally going to be 20 feet from where this transaction window and all that is. He's the one...
He's this one, right?
with the gate open.
Yeah, he's...
And we helped him build that fence because every night when he parked his truck there, people would steal his batteries out. And then he owns the Round Top building, and then we're further on west of there. So I kind of think that covers most of our concerns, if anyone has any questions.
And you have a handout that had the updated signatures that Melinda turned in.
Yeah,
staff.
and Ray York, who is also, he is on 4th Street, but he's in the 800 block, and then he owns the corner lot across from behind Revolution Taco.
Oh, okay, so he owns
He owns the
vacant
property across the street.
the vacant property that's immediately to the north,
Yep,
which is this.
Yep.
That half of it's a parking lot here, and then the other half is this grass with this wonderful tree.
And I will tell you, I mean, the problem we have had, I drive a smart car, okay? I've been about killed in the alley numerous times, because, again, the intent may be for them to exit onto Fifth, but Valor comes zooming through in their vans through the alley, and they have all their deliveries in the alley, and it's just, the alley was not meant for that kind of traffic, you know, and I don't know what the solution is. But, like I said, the fence is the only thing I could see that might appease everyone, because it would secure their property and keep everyone coming off of Fifth. Even if they did it at the back of the building, they couldn't exit at the back of the building. Any questions?
Thank you.
Nope.
Any other comments? Yes.
I'd like to maybe address some of those issues and maybe shed some light that this may be an improvement to some of those security concerns. This area is pretty industrial. The buildings to the south are the back of their buildings, and they're pretty industrial, and it's an alley, and this is an up-and-coming area. J&B Properties has owned their building for about 10, 12 years. Their building is a showcase on that in that area. It's bringing the area up. This is going to continue. Valor Health is in the other half of the J&B Properties building. With having these additional people there, we're going to have a very sophisticated security camera network inside and outside of the building, on all sides, on the roof. So I think with the increased population of a thriving business, there's security cameras, additional people, I think that the likelihood of crime will go down with that. I think that with security and the additional people in that area, customers, the crime will go down. Talking about a couple other things to bring up from being at that site for some time, I've noticed that the mattress company, their building has an overhead door facing north, right in front of our building where we have the little blackout where we're proposing the bollards. The mattress guy uses J&B Properties property for his queuing, for his backup space. I mean, they're protesting something that they're utilizing for their benefit, which I kind of see a little ironic. The fence that the representative was talking about to put on ours, right now they're applying to take their fence down. So to conclude what I'm saying, I think what we're doing is benefiting the activity, the livelihood of that, not creating more of a security threat. Thank you.
Okay.
Please give the microphone.
I guess the only other thing that I feel like hasn't been addressed at all, and I know Susie brought it up in her letter, are what the hours would be. What would the days of operation be? Would they operate late at, so that was another thing that I don't think's been addressed.
The hours of operation are a little in flux because this is such a new thing. The anticipation would be like a pharmacy, maybe 9 to 8, 9 to dusk, something like that. But that hasn't been totally established. We don't have all the answers yet. This is such a new thing, so there's still some things in flux. But it'll be essentially a daytime business and may go into dusk just a little bit.
I spoke with Melinda on the phone yesterday, and I think that was something she brought up to me, and my only comment would be that's based on my review of what the state has passed at this point, because this is all state regulated, not city regulated. There are no specified hours of operation per state law, and it's a retail operation, and so we would assume that the operator would establish appropriate hours based on the business demand, but it's nothing that we regulate.
Okay. Appreciate that. Any other questions for the representatives or comments and discussion here among our board?
I've got a couple of comments. First, I think that you are absolutely correct that the use is appropriate, and I don't take any exception to the use. I don't see it as something that has a specific use in this area that would be a detriment in any way. And the clientele as well. I do not see a clientele for this use as being a detriment in any way. My concerns and my thoughts are more about safety and precedent. And safety is first and foremost. We are taking building uses where pedestrian activity is primarily in the front, and then vehicular activity is primarily in the sides or middle of lots, and then service and more delivery type functions are in the rear, and we are going to immediately meld them together into a single point, which I think invites the opportunity for some type of incident unintentional. We've introduced a pedestrian into a place where harm could happen. I do agree that you're going to take the path of least resistance when you enter and exit. So if Fifth is busy and you've been here before and you know you can get into this parking lot off of the alley, people will take the alley. And if they get into the parking lot and happen to park on the far rear side of the property, they could leave from the alley. There's nothing restricting them at that point. And again, we're introducing pedestrians and vehicles into the same space. I also realize that if we have individuals who are queuing on the outside, that there is going to be an opportunity where somebody is going to be there with, there's always the potential for a young person, any place. And they might not go into the space, but they might be waiting with somebody outside, and a young person in the rear and a bunch of people, or a few people, I consider that to be, again, a place where safety is a concern. The idea of anonymity, I think, is a very noble thought on your behalf, and I agree with it entirely, and I believe that your clients will appreciate it. I think that there are opportunities on the site where anonymity can still be maintained and maybe be provided in a little bit of a different fashion. With respect to zoning and precedent, I see opportunities that could allow a closer compliance with zoning than is currently being proposed. So the proposal currently is kind of going to the extreme of the rear. And while it might not be front and center on the front for people to queue or to wait, seems like there would be an opportunity of a queuing location and maybe still an entrance and an exit off of the front, and that would need to be developed. It just seems like there's still that opportunity for something that is closer in compliance to our guidelines than the current proposal. And then with respect to the interior of the building, and I realize you've got or you're either in for permit or in the process of getting a permit or have it. I had a question about the exiting door, which in your current setup is if somebody walks out that door and opens it full and walks, if somebody was wanting to get into the building, they really have a time crunch, what's to stop them from putting their foot there and then entering in through the exit door? It just seems like there's a less secure spot for your employees or for the employees of this space if there is the ability for somebody to override the Sallyport condition that you've created on the entrance. And I think it could be solved. It's not a large thing. I just feel like the exiting component is something that could allow a person to enter in contrast to the standard operating procedures for your facility. I realize there's going to be other comments, but those are my key is safety. My thought is the current situation and setup and proposal creates a potential for a safety problem, but equally or secondarily but very close, I do think that there is a solution that could be achieved where we could be closer in compliance with the guidelines.
I think that was very well said. And Tony, you covered a number of items that I share the same concerns. So I won't reiterate everything, but I will say that my focus is really in relation to the guidelines and the way the position of the entrance and the activity for the building, that I feel putting it in the back of the building is a mistake from an urban standpoint. I understand this potentially is the best solution or a good solution for what you all are trying to do, but in the greater context of the urban environment, I think putting the entrance on the back of the building takes away from what the city is looking to do at the streetscape level in the urban context. But with owning the parking lot and having control over that, as Tony started to sort of allude to, I see a number of opportunities where you can address a number, if not all of your concerns at a different location within the parking lot. So I'm not saying that you need to not saying that the activity has to happen off the sidewalk, but with the parking lot in place, there is a middle ground. Like Tony said, what's being proposed is really the extreme. And with the parking lot under your control, I agree that there would be a middle ground. That's kind of the big picture. I do have one minor comment, just in case this never comes across our table again. The clear anodized mullions for the storefront windows, driving or looking at the building, I believe what's there existing is bronze mullions. So that might be one thing to consider down the road, looking to select a mullion that matches what's existing there.
I agree with Tony and Corey, and I think, one, I don't know maybe if there's not enough space here to do this, but one solution is possibly having, a waiting room and then going through the vestibule. I would imagine that people don't really want to be waiting in the parking lot anyways. This queue, I'm wondering where that's, seeing the back door there, they would be standing, and the way you described it, a queue going around the block, they would be standing in all the parking spaces, or they would be standing in the alley. Like, I'm just not sure how you're addressing the queue, and probably people coming here don't even want to stand like that. So, or they're standing in that space in the back of the building between the bollards and the back of the building. I mean, that would be another potential. Maybe there's just a way to kind of delineate that space for that kind of queuing use. Or there's actually a waiting room that's not secure, and then you have kind of a vestibule and a secure wall so that people can wait inside. Yeah, I think that's, and if you had a waiting room, that would kind of maybe allow you to have the front entrance be the main entrance. So, anyways, yeah, like Corey was saying, there's like a lot of potential to think about how to arrange this. Maybe it makes a little bit more sense from the safety standpoint of these people and where they're going to be standing and how they're going to be entering.
Yeah, and I echo the thought that it's not the use. I don't think that's what you're hearing from us. It's not the use. Certainly, it's my primary concern is just having the entrance in the back. It really is not in line with what we want to see in the downtown design review. Want to see street-facing, sidewalk-facing interactions. And but yeah, to echo Deborah's comment about there's maybe ways to solve that with the internal hallway or vestibule, and then people in the queue might also be protected from weather in addition, and be more in line with the design and still be able to solve the logistical problem. But because I can imagine as somebody who's been through a similar process, I can imagine it can be frustrating to hear what you can't do, and so hopefully with working with the staff, you might be able to hear what you can do that would be in line with having a front-facing entrance. But I think those are some of our comments there. And I saw you guys convening. Is there anything else you wanted to add? We may be prepared for a motion soon, but I want to give you another chance after that discussion.
I appreciate your comments, and your comments for concern. They're well taken. I'd like to state, though, that wherever the door would be will not change the way people in automobiles would use the parking lot. That has no effect, no effect. I'd like to suggest one thing to the board. We've got several items. We've got installing the door, the new door in the rear, the transaction drawer in window, the storefront in the rear to get light into the building and leaving the garage doors, and revising the parking lot. That can go away. The revising the parking lot is for the dumpster and a space in front of the door, in the bollards. So I'd like to see if we could vote on those individually, because we would like to keep the windows in the garage door idea. We think that's appropriate for the space. Obviously, the dumpster needs to be there. I'm not sure why that's one of the items.
It's required to have a dumpster enclosure, and they need to take action on the
Okay.
enclosure
Okay.
itself.
Thank you. But if we could vote on the separate items on the case individually, because some of those, I feel maybe not affect some of the issues that you guys have, and we'd like to try to keep, if possible.
Yes, just to speak to what David is talking about, we had purposefully enumerated the case items for this purpose so that some could be approved or not independently to free them up to do some of the work.
So go ahead.
Well, I would just say, looking at this list and based on the discussion that we've had today, in my opinion, the only item that I would be open to approving would be the dumpster enclosure itself. I think everything else is tied to the overall planning of the building, which has been the focal point of the discussion today. And with that in mind, I would actually ask the applicant if they would be open to, rather than voting on certain items, simply continuing the application to allow for an update, if that's the approach they wanted to take.
The dates associated with a continuance versus a denial and reapplication?
'23rd, we'd need.
At the next meeting is November 15th, and we would need the revisions by October 23rd,
Sorry,
which is a week from.
I'm having a hard time hearing what the date. Did you say the 23rd? That we need it by
We would need
next Tuesday?
the revisions by next Tuesday. We could possibly squeeze that to next Thursday, but very soon.
Sorry, we'll see if we can't get that. I thought it was going to be quick, and then it just kept going on, so.
I have
And
3
then-
small children, so it actually makes me feel more at home with all the
Well, okay,
noise.
there you go.
And then the December meeting is on the 20th.
Because of the holidays.
And we already do have other items for November, so we're scheduled to have a meeting in November. This wouldn't be the only thing, if that's where we're headed.
And simply to clarify, if say this case was denied and they wanted to reapply, the earliest meeting that they could take part in would be?
Would be December.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
it is different, if it was different than what the current proposal is.
Substantially different and addressed key points.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, we're unable to stop the work, so hopefully we'll be able to be heard on the tape.
So I don't know if you heard us as far as the timing or what we were talking about up here, but I want.
No, I didn't. Please.
So what we were discussing here was what would be the timing if we continued the item, and the answer was it would be on the November 15th meeting, and a new revised application would have to be to staff by October 23rd. If it were denied today, then it would have to be, the application would have to be substantially changed and then submitted at the December 20th meeting. Is that right? So that's what we were talking about up here, but I know you guys were also discussing how you wanted to approach it, so I
Right.
wanted to hear your feedback on that.
Right, okay. what we were discussing, just to be open, was that we have a building permit. We've had a building permit for 3 weeks. We felt this was going to be done administratively, but 11th hour, it wasn't. So we're framed inside. We've got it framed. Our building permit has the single door. We have a solution to make this work with the single door. We would like both doors. That's why we're here. We'd like both doors.
Just to clarify, staff gets the opportunity to sign off on the building permit sets. So we did not sign off on a set that includes the transaction window or the new rear doors.
In the set they approved, those are omitted.
Say that again?
The set that we have a building permit for, the door in question and the transaction window are omitted.
So the permit was only for internal work and did not include any exterior renovations? Because exterior renovations require staff to stamp off on it. So they modified what they had submitted, the information you have, so that there was no exterior work proposed, and that's what they got a building permit for, so they could start.
Corey?
So if I'm hearing correctly, you would like us to vote on this application as is?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Prepared to make a motion?
I will move to deny the application on the basis that the project does not comply with the regulation and guidelines of the Downtown Design District zoning ordinance as referenced in Section D of the staff report.
Is that all items? Including the dumpster enclosure? Sorry.
Can I? Yes, that includes all items. You're going to deny the dumpster? I'm trying to.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not.
Wow.
I'm trying to keep this clean as possible. My motion stands.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Can I ask a question? I'm not sure what the appropriate action would be. I would deny it except for the dumpster enclosure. So,
If he doesn't get a second, then
Okay.
that motion will die, and you can make another motion.
Timer went on that one. So we have an opportunity for another motion or more discussion at this point.
I will make a motion to approve the dumpster enclosure, but deny the other items that are being requested.
Should we have
Where
that as
are
two
those?
separate
Yeah.
motions, just to
Okay.
make it cleaner, and then you could reference the applicable sections of the staff report, and then there's no question? So you might want to do the approval first, and that would, just a suggestion.
I would like to make a motion to approve the 6-foot-tall wood dumpster enclosure.
Second.
We have a Richards Blatt motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion passes.
I would like to make a motion to deny items for consideration regarding the main building, items for consideration regarding the parking lot, and items for consideration regarding the landscaping. Do I need to be more specific?
No, so you're referencing case items number 1, number 2, and number 3.
That's correct.
Second.
Richards Blatt motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. So that motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for your time. So that wraps up on the agenda items for individual consideration. I lost my place. So now we have other business, which there's none. Communication items, administrative approval report. If there's any questions about that, then staff is available. Otherwise, any comments from staff? Lisa?
As I referenced previously, we have a meeting next month, still deciding. There could be several items, so we'll be checking with you all soon, because we've been having an issue with trying, since we only have 6, we still don't have the new person yet.
Typically, the November-December schedules change a little bit because of the holidays. Is it still going to be 9:30? Because I remember
Yes.
last year we had to...
Well, it's still at 9:30, but the problem that we've got in November and December is we don't have as long in the room because they've booked another meeting. So we'll need to look into that because of the number of cases we might have on in November. We could have a time crunch. But if you can all check your calendars, we'll be checking with everybody just to make sure we have 4 people.
Right, for November and December, the meeting is still the 3rd Thursday at 9:30.
Right, there just happens to be somebody that comes in here, I think at 10:30, there's a MAPS.
Yeah.
Is it your MAPS committee?
Yes.
Okay, so
I
you're...
sit over there.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I'll just move down. Okay. Anything else? Anything for the committee members? Already discussed next meeting date. So I had a black motion to adjourn, and seconded by Deborah. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.